What's up? I think you guys can hear me now. So I had to redo the stream. I had this going a little while ago, but I had to redo it because the audio wasn't working. So hopefully you guys can hear me now. Just let me know how it sounds. I'm using my phone audio, so I'm sorry if it doesn't sound the best, but that's what I got right now. And I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen, and we will go ahead and get going. So this is a tier list of metal bands. So let's see. So what we're doing here is I've got Goated, great band. They're pretty good. They're okay. Not my thing, but not bad. I don't like them. Absolute garbage. Heard of them, but never listened to them and never heard of them. So metal music is something that I am very knowledgeable in. I really love deep diving stuff like this, so I know a lot of kind of weird bands. So I just thought it'd be interesting to see how many I knew. And I love metal. I've been listening to it since I was like 13. Ever since my mom put on Aerosmith for me, and then we heard Enter Sandman in the car, and then it started going from there. So anyway, 1349, black metal band. So I've heard of them. I've never listened to them. 1914. Never heard of them. So, and by the way, like if I'm putting one of these bands in either of these last two categories and you think I would like them, feel free to recommend them in the comments. I'm always looking for new music. And with that being said, 3 Inches of Blood, never heard of them. And A Day to Remember, straight up to the goated tier. And so A Day to Remember, the thing with them is they're not really a metal band. They're more of like a pop punk band. But they combine like heavy riffing and like hardcore sounds with pop punk and like with a really pop sensibility. Super catchy, scratches all those itches. Goated band. If you've never listened to them, listen to them if you like pop punk. But I don't really think they belong in the metal band tier list personally, but yeah, we'll put them in goated. I love them. Aboth. Heard of them but never listened to. And the thing is I really love Immortal. So I have a feeling that if I would love Immortal, I'd probably love Aboth as well, because it's the singer from Immortal. It's a solo project, so I need to check them out. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Abominable Putridity is a slam band. If you don't know slam, it's basically brutal death metal with extremely guttural vocals. Set to like the guitars chug along to the same rhythm. Is very like primal, like that type of stuff. Abominable Putridity is one of those bands. I'm gonna say they're pretty good for what they do. They're kind of fun to listen to, but they're not the greatest band in the world. They're fun to listen to though. If they came through, I might think of going to one of their shows. Probably won't because they're from Russia. I don't know if I've ever heard of them touring in the U.S. I don't know how big they are, but yeah, and if they ever came through, I might go see them. Aborted, heard of them but never listened to. I have no idea what that logo is. Accept. So this is going to be one of those things where it's like I don't like them. So Accept is a speed metal band from the 80s. And the way I see it is like speed metal is like thrash, but it's less. So like this is just kind of like cheesy, like almost like hair metal, but more hard, I guess. Like I'm sure when they came out, they were pretty groundbreaking, but I've heard this echoed in the metal community more than once that they just haven't really held up. They haven't really stood the test of time very well. So yeah, don't like them. Nothing wrong with them. If you like them, great. I just don't like them. They're not, if I'm listening to metal, I want something heavier than them. Acid Bath. I'm gonna say I don't like them just because of their lyrics. Very, very dark lyrics. Kind of going into the disturbing category. And that's probably their what they're going for, but it's just not my thing. I don't really like depraved lyrics. So I'm gonna say I don't like them. I wouldn't say they're absolute garbage because it's one of those things that, like, if they believed in the stuff they were saying, if they were actually serial killers, I put them in absolute garbage, but it's, it's just they write about it. So in that sense, I don't like them. Too dark for me. But with that being said, in the metal community, they are very well loved. So yeah, I mean, you know, you like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. Acid King, never heard of them. Never heard of these guys either. I think that's Acid Religion, Acid Witch, never heard of them. Aeon, never heard of them. After the Burial, I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them. They're kind of like a metalcore, like progressive metalcore band. I've heard good things about them. I should probably look them up, but I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm sure they're great. I've just never listened to them. Agalok, we're gonna say great band. Agalok is an ambient, atmospheric, black metal band with folk elements. A lot like Ulver. I'd say they're a great band. They're a mood, very, very much a vibe. Um, Very relaxing music, surprisingly, with it being black metal. But just think folk, think like atmosphere and black metal, and that's Agalok. Great stuff. I don't know what this is. They're not absolute garbage. I'm just trying to read the name. I don't know. I've never heard of these guys. Ahab, heard of them but never listened to. If I remember right, I think Ahab's a funeral doom band. I do love me some funeral doom, so maybe I should check them out. Never heard of these guys, or actually, yeah, I have heard the name. Just never listened to them. Never heard of these guys. I accidentally pulled up my whatever that is, my like news feed. Yeah. Alcest, we're gonna say great band, kind of along the lines of Agalok, very similar sound, black metal with lots of atmosphere, lots of ambience, lots of folk elements. They got like some flutes going on, some acoustic guitars going on with the black metal stuff as well. I think they even did like kind of more ambient, like dark ambient, maybe electronic stuff later on. So cool stuff. And correct me if I'm wrong, it just seems like I heard that about Alcest. Alchemist. Heard of them, but never listened to. Ailstorm, not my thing, but not bad. Ailstorm is what people jokingly call pirate metal. So it's basically power metal, but it's just they sing about being pirates, and it's like sea shanty stuff, and drinking beer, drinking rum, swashbuckling. It's just a little too cheesy for me. So I know a lot of people love Ailstorm, just not my thing. Let's see, never heard of these guys. Never heard of Alien Weaponry. All Shall Perish. I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them. But I've heard good things about them, so maybe I should listen to them. Never heard of these guys. Altar of Plagues. I've heard the name before. Sounds familiar. What's this? Alter Bridge. Not my thing, but not bad. Butt rock. It's just one of those things. Like I think Alter Bridge, if I'm thinking of the right band, I believe they're kind of along the lines of Nickelback. It's just completely neutral, honestly. Like I would never choose to listen to Alter Bridge. I do like some butt rock, like Breaking Benjamin's great, but that's just kind of the thing. Why listen to Alter Bridge when you can listen to Breaking Benjamin? But that's just my opinion. I haven't really listened to them too much, but I know enough about them to say they're not really my thing. Never heard of these guys. Amon Amarth. Goated. Twilight of the Thunder God. Enough said. They're a melodic death metal band. Write about Viking stuff. Really, really pretty melodies. Like if you take some time to like sit and listen to the melodies their guitar players play, really, really beautiful music. So Monomarth's going into goated. Amorphous. I've heard of them, but never listened to them. What is that? Yeah, Amputated. Heard of them, but never listened to them. Looks like a death metal band though. And on the Croth. Okay, so these guys, I tried. I gave Constellation of the Black Widow a try. I'm gonna say it's not my thing, but it's not bad. I actually think for what they do, they're actually quite good. But personally, since this is based on my personal taste, it's just not really my thing. The whole noise, industrial, grindcore with black metal combined. A little too grating for me. But it's been a long time since I've given them a try. So feel free, like in the chat, if you want to like suggest them based on like what I've been saying in the tier list. If you think I'd like them, maybe I'll give them another shot and get back with you guys about it. Because I mean, it's a cool concept, honestly. So yeah, moving on. Never heard of these guys. Never heard of these guys. Or these guys. Or these guys. Animals as leaders. I've never listened to them. I know enough about them to where they're kind of like a prog gent band, kind of along the lines of Periphery, if I'm understanding correctly. But I just don't know enough about them to really have an opinion on them. Maybe I should listen to them, but I'm sure they're great. I've heard good things about them, but I just haven't gotten around to listening to them. Annihilator, heard of them, but never listened to them. Anthrax, we're gonna say they're a great band. So Anthrax is a thrash band. Anthrax, they kind of hit that crossover vibe, like crossover thrash, mixing like thrash metal with hardcore, but they lean just enough into thrash metal to be considered a thrash band. So, that's kind of where Anthrax is. They're a great band. Among the Living's an amazing album. I'd say it's a no skip album. It's just fun stuff. Really, really fast paced. Really, really high tempo stuff. So yeah, fun stuff to listen to. They're a great band. Anvil, never heard of Appalling Spawn. some of these metal band names are funny. Arch Enemy. So I've personally have never listened to them, but I know enough about them to say great band. I believe they're fronted by a woman who does death growls, and they are a melodic death metal band, which is always good. I love melodic death metal. Very pretty music. And she is great at what she does. So yeah, they're a great band. Archgoat, heard of them, but never listened to them. I don't even recognize that logo. I don't recognize that logo. Recognize that logo, that logo. Recognize them. As I Lay Dying, our very first absolute garbage band. So the thing with As I Lay Dying, it's Tim Lambesis. I will never support As I Lay Dying. I will never support anything Tim Lambesis is attached to, because he tried to put a hit out on his wife. So, yep, enough said. Absolute garbage human, absolute garbage band. I will never support them, which is a shame because they would probably be up here if it wasn't for Tim Lambesis, but absolute garbage. Asking Alexandria, absolute garbage. Now, it's like there's a part of me that wants to like them because, I grew up an emo boy, so they appeal to that part of me, but their lyrics are atrocious. Like some of the worst, like some of the most misogynistic lyrics I've ever heard. So absolute garbage. Asphyx, never heard of that, or heard of them actually. Never listened to them though. And again, some of these bands that I've never listened to, never heard of. Just a reminder, if you guys have listened to them, if you guys like them, and if you think that I would like them, recommend them in the comments. Never heard of this band. Never heard of that. Atheist. So Atheist is a technical, like, progressive death metal band, kind of combining elements of jazz. So this is something that I really, really like hearing. I just don't know enough about them. Like I think I've heard one song from them, and it was great. So I'm gonna put them in great band. And I know they have a reputation in the death metal scene, so yep, we're gonna put them there. Atreyu, never listened to them. I definitely have heard them. I know they're a metalcore band. I just never listened to them. I don't recognize that logo. It's just, some of these are really hard to read. Maybe if I zoom in, see if that makes it easier. Atrophy, I think is what that is. Yep, never heard of them. Attila, we're gonna say not my thing, not bad. So Attila, they're a deathcore band. They're kind of like that douchecore, like almost like a modern version of Limp Bizkit. And the reason I say not bad is because they're self-aware and they know what they're doing. I believe, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the music's tongue-in-cheek. So for that reason, since they're self-aware, since they know that they're it's like they're trying to be like douchey on purpose. Not my thing, but not bad. I don't recognize that logo, but it does look cool. I just don't know what it says. But based on what it looks like I might like that band just based on their logo. You can kind of do that sometimes. Autopsy. So I'm gonna say this is gonna be a controversial pick, but not my thing. Just for lyrical content. Just a little too much for me. But I know they're legends in the metal scene, legends in the death metal scene. Their sound itself, the Death Doom sound, absolutely groundbreaking. They kind of spearheaded an entire genre, but their lyrics are too gruesome for me. So I'm gonna put them in not my thing, but not bad. Never heard of these guys. Never heard of these. Avenged Sevenfold. And I know I'm pissing off the metal elitists right now. And just a piss off the metal elitists. They're goated. I love Avenged Sevenfold. City of Evil is what makes them goated. That's a no skip album. Self-titled album's pretty great. Black albums, it's okay. That's where they got a little. It's like their Black album if they were Metallica. So it's kind of where they started to become generic, and then after that, they started releasing some pretty cool stuff too. Besides they seem like great guys. M Shadow seems like really decent, just a really cool dude to chill with. So, goated. Great music. Seemed like pretty solid, down to earth guys. Let's see, Rayon. Never heard of them. Baby Metal. Not my thing. But here's the thing, like, I'm not gonna hate on Baby Metal just because they're like kawaii metal. It's like J-pop metal. If that's your thing, then they're probably great. It's just not my thing. But if you like J-pop metal, they do it great. So that's where I'm gonna put them. Nothing wrong with them. I just don't like them. Just not my thing. And I might just put a distinction here right now. The whole not my thing and not bad thing, like this tier is for bands that have nothing wrong with them. Like it just doesn't do it for me. The I don't like them category is like a step below that. It's like the I don't like them category is bands that I think there's something wrong with. I don't think there's anything wrong with any of these bands. It's just not my thing. With these bands, it's like there's something about them that I don't like. So anyway, never heard of this. Bathory. We're gonna go ahead and put Bathory in great band. Super influential. They really influenced the second wave of black metal. I know they're technically a first wave band, but they're the band that kind of got the like black metal shrieks to become a thing. So yeah, we're gonna put them in great. The album Twilight of the Gods is just absolutely beautiful. And then even some of their earlier stuff. I'm not super familiar with their earlier stuff, but I listened to Under the Sign of the Black Mark, I think was what that album's called. It's got some pretty cool stuff, some pretty atmospheric stuff too. It's very, very ahead of its time for being a first wave black metal band. It's Bathory's really that bridge between first and second wave black metal. So Batushka, I believe, is what this is. It's a great band. I think I've heard one of their songs live, and from what I remember, I believe they kind of did the folk black metal thing, and I remember them doing it really well. So yeah, we're gonna put them up there. Beast in Black, never heard of them. Let's see. I have to zoom in on this again. I don't know what that says. I have no idea. Never heard of them. Behemoth. Well, it's a toss-up. Blackened death metal. So if you don't know, blackened death metal is black metal and death metal like combined. So Behemoth, they're kind of like a death metal band with black metal elements. I'm gonna say I don't like them. They just seem very try-hard with their anti-religious stuff. And I'm a religious guy, but I do try to keep an open mind. Funny thing about this, like, and please don't leave the live just because I said this, but I'm Mormon. I'm from Utah. I'm a Mormon dude. But with that being said, I try to keep an open mind. Obviously, if I put freaking Bathory and Great Band, they got a lot of satanic themes. But I enjoy Bathory. I try to keep an open mind. Behemoth, it just hits it a little too hard for me. They're obnoxious with it to the point where it just seems like they're trying to be edgelords. So for that reason, I don't like them. Beharit. They're kind of the same league as Behemoth. I just don't know enough about them to really have too strong of an opinion. So they're going into not my thing, but not bad. Be'lakor, oof, goated, absolutely goated. Like, okay, this is the quickest goated I have ever done in my entire life. Be'lakor is a band I'd always heard their name. They're melodic death metal, and they came up on my Spotify not too long ago. It was what song was it? It was Stone's Reach, I think was the song. Let me just. I know it was that album. It was okay. Sorry, it was Countless Skies. It was that song. Holy crap! I was actually though. Okay, I'm gonna walk back a little bit. So I actually found them out from a Reddit post. I was trying to find out really, really beautiful sounding metal. Because there's just a certain sound that really hits, and Be'lakor really provides that. It's like that kind of like perfect balance of like melancholy and melody and heaviness and just beauty in music. Be'lakor is just beauty in music form. Goated. Bell Witch. I haven't listened to Bell Witch for a while. They're a funeral doom band. It's a toss up, but I'd say just since I don't go back to them, they're a great band. I probably would go back to them if I was in a mood for like funeral doom. And if this was a funeral doom tier list, they'd be like S tier. But I'd say great band. I just don't come back to them enough because I don't listen to funeral doom a whole lot. Belphegor. Don't like them. Same reason as Behemoth. Almost exact same reason as Behemoth. Like, they're just way too edgelordy for me. And yeah. Benediction. Let's see. I've heard of this band. I've never really listened to them, but I've heard they're a really good death metal band. Maybe I should check them out. Between the Buried and Me. Okay, so I'm actually gonna do a quick disclaimer. After the Burial and Between the Buried and Me, everything I said after the Burial, I meant Between the Buried and Me. For some reason I got the names mixed up. But yeah, kind of progressive metalcore. I've never heard of them. If I listened to them, I probably would like them. But yeah, if that didn't make sense, I mixed up these two. So I actually don't know anything about After the Burial other than hearing their name. Between the Buried and Me is the progressive metalcore band, and I'd probably like them if I listened to them. I've just never listened to them. Never heard of these guys. Black Flag. Black Flag is a hardcore punk band. What are they doing on here? Goated. Black Flag. Maybe great band. I don't come back to them enough, but I don't know. This is a toss up. If there was like an in between tier, I'd put them on the in between tier. But we're gonna stick with. I don't know. If it was just for their early stuff, goated. But like some of the more weird, like I think this is why they ended up on the metal tier list, is because some of their later stuff's kind of sludgy. It's almost like Black Sabbath worship, but like a little bit more like they took acid and then tried to do Black Flag worship. Or no, not Black Flag, Black Sabbath. It's like they took acid and tried to like emulate Black Sabbath. And I haven't really heard a lot of that stuff, but their early stuff's great, so they're a great band. Black Sabbath, not my thing, but not bad. I know that's blasphemy, but Just kind of the same reason as Accept is there. It's just like there's just when you have Anthrax, when you have Bellacore, when you have Amon Amarth, Bathory, freaking Abominable Putridity, Black Sabbath starts to sound like dad rock. But I mean they're good. You know what? Screw it. They're a great band. Screw it. For their influence, and then I'm just starting to remember some of their really good songs, like the self-titled song "Black Sabbath" is a great song. Paranoid's a great band, or not band. I'm getting tired. Paranoid's a great song, great album. Yeah, they're a great band. War Pigs. I love War Pigs. Yeah, they're a great band. I don't know what I was thinking putting them there. I just think it's because I don't listen to them very often. But Blackguard, never heard of them. Blasphemy, heard of them but never listened to them. Blind Guardian. I'm gonna put them here. Like I was gonna put them in Not My Thing because I think I've listened to them once and that was my thought. But I just would have to listen to them again to really have a real opinion on them. So Blind Guardian, heard of them but never listened to them is where they're gonna go. What is this? I have no freaking idea what that is. So they're gonna go there. What's this? What's this? Blood Tsunami? I feel like I've heard that name before. Bloodbath. I'm gonna say not bad, but not my thing. Yeah, I just haven't listened to them enough. I have listened to them, just not enough. I don't really come back to them, so just not really my thing, but not bad. They got that Swedish death metal sound. Just for whatever reason, I just haven't really come back to them. Blue Oyster Cult. They're okay. That's the first band, and they're okay. Kind of the same fate as Accept. It's just like they're really heavy when they first came out. But things just got heavier. But I mean, Don't Fear the Reaper's a classic. Like that's got a really, really cool guitar solo in it. I'm gonna bump them up to they're pretty good. Don't Fear the Reaper's got a great guitar solo in it. And I feel like there's another song by them that I know, but I can't think of the name right now. So yep, they're pretty good. Let's see. Bluthaus Nord. Never listened to them, but I've heard of them. I know they're a black metal band. Bolt Thrower. I believe I've listened to one of their albums. I can't remember what it sounded like, to be honest. I would need to do more listening to them to really have an opinion. But I remember liking what I heard. They're a great band. Bonded by Blood. I know that's the name of like an Exodus album, but I've never heard of the band Bonded by Blood. Never heard of these guys. Boris, never heard of them. What's this? Never heard of them. Born of Osiris. Kind of the same thing as like the whole like technical progressive metalcore thing. Never really heard them, but I'm sure they're great, but I've just never listened to them, so I can't really make an opinion of them. Botch. I've definitely heard of them, but I haven't given them a chance yet. I do love Bring Me the Horizon. And this tier list is really gonna piss off the elitists. I'm gonna put Bring Me the Horizon in great. I don't come back to them enough for them to be goated, but I'd say they're great. Like they're always ahead of the curve, and that's what I like about them. They're always doing the next thing that blows up before it blows up. So yeah, Bring Me the Horizon's a great band. You can fight me on it, whatever. They're gonna stay there. Bruce Dickinson. I didn't even know he had a solo career. From Iron Maiden. Never listened to his solo stuff. Brutal Truth. They're a grindcore band. Is that what that is? I think that's what that is. Brutality. Oh, Okay, not Brutal Truth. Brutality, we're gonna say never heard of them because I've never heard of them. What's this? Leggy. I think I've heard the name. Never really listened to them. Buffalo. Never heard of them. Bolt for My Valentine. You know, Screaming Fire kind of slaps. Not gonna lie. I'm gonna say they're okay. They're okay. Burning Witch. Never heard of them. Bortsum. Where are we gonna put Bortsum? Absolute garbage because Varg Vikernes is a human piece of garbage, which is a real shame because his music is goated, but him as a person, because it's a one-man project, it is a solo project, it is only Varg Vikernes, absolute garbage person, which is a big, huge shame because he makes some pretty beautiful music. But I can't in good conscience listen to a murdering Nazi and feel good about myself. So, yep, that's where they're gonna say. Them Candlemass. Let's see. I'm gonna say they're pretty good. You know what? No, they're goated. Candlemass is goated just for the Bewitched video. If you know, you know. Cannabis Corpse. Basically a weed-themed Cannibal Corpse parody. Not my thing. Not my thing. But I know people like them. Cannibal Corpse. Again, not my thing. Basically just for the lyrics. Here's the thing. If Cannibal Corpse didn't have just absolutely insanely graphic, insanely disgusting lyrics, they'd probably go and goated. But I can't really stomach their lyrics, to be honest. So they're not really my thing. I have no idea what that is. Carcass. I do like me some Carcass. I'm gonna say they're pretty good. Carcass is pretty good. They're I'm actually gonna go with my gut. No, they're pretty good. I was gonna bump them down to they're okay, but they're pretty good. I listened to Heartwork. It kind of does have that whole accept thing where it's like, and you hear me out. I know you're gonna be like, what? But Heartwork is kind of the groundbreaking melodic death metal album. But you listen to Bellacore and you listen to Amon Amarth, and then you listen to Heartwork. It's like melodic death metal's come a long way. So I'm gonna say they're pretty good. They're pretty good. Heartwork is pretty good. But Amon Amarth and Bellacore is just like leagues above it, in my opinion. So that's where they're gonna stay. And you know, their first two albums too. This is entertainment value about it that's just kind of there. But like I believe it was one of their members said it. I think it was Bill Steer said that it's a musical abortion, which I think is pretty accurate to describe early Carcass. But you know, they did their gore grind thing for their first two albums, and then came out with just what's regarded as one of the greatest metal albums of all time. So I'm gonna say they're pretty good. Carnifex. Never really listened to them. I've heard them here and there, like little clips of their songs, but just never really cared too much to get into them. So they're going in there. I'm not that big of a deathcore guy. Carpathian Forest. Never really listened to them. Cathedral. Never heard of them. Cattle Decapitation. I know it's a joke. I know it's tongue-in-cheek. I just can't really get into them because of the forced gender reassignment thing. Like I said, I know it's satire. I know it's a joke. I know it's tongue-in-cheek. And I've never watched the video, but I've heard about it, and it just seems like exploitation to me. Like it's like kind of like it just doesn't seem very in very good taste. So I'm gonna say I don't like them, but that's just how I feel. You know, if you like them, you like them. Um, and I want to like them. This is the thing. I want to like cattle decapitation. Like Travis Ryan seems like a cool dude, but you know, if they're making videos like forced gender reassignment, I'm sorry, like I can't get behind that. It just seems exploitative to me. Exploitative to me. Celtic Frost. We're gonna put Celtic Frost right up there in the I just don't listen to them enough, so I don't know about Goated. High, great band. They're just legendary. Yeah, enough said. Chelsea Green, don't really care for them. Children of Bodom. What's it there? Children of Bodom. You got to be in a mood. It's like if I want to listen to power metal, but don't want the cheesiness of it, and want some death metal elements thrown in, I throw in Children of Bodom. Children of Bodom is basically power metal with death metal vocals and like really, really good neoclassical guitar runs. So, and then the really cheesy dum, 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 like orchestra hits. So, you know, with that being said, Children of Bodom is going into the great band category. Chimera, I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them. I've never heard of these guys. Never heard of these guys or these guys. These guys, Coheed and Cambria. I've listened to them before. Like they come on Spotify sometimes if I'm like listening to an album and then it starts playing random stuff. Not my thing, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Just not my thing. What the heck is this? No idea. What's that? Yeah, no idea what that is. Converge. I've tried Converge. I have tried Converge. One of my friends in high school was way into them. He played them a lot. They're just too much for me. Kind of the same thing I said about Anomacroft. They're just too much. Name before. I've never listened to them. Is that Cradle of Filth? It's hard to read these out. Just Cradle of Filth. I've heard. Saying I've heard Cradle of Filth is kind of an exaggeration. Like I know of them. I've never really listened to one of their songs. Never heard of these guys. Never heard of these guys. Cro-Mags. Cro-Mags. They're I've heard of them. I'm just trying to remember which band. I if I remember right, I think they're like a New York hardcore band. Never listened to them. I've definitely heard of them though. I've heard of Crowbar. Never heard of these guys. Cryptic Slaughter. I've heard that name before. Cryptopsy. Same thing as Cannibal Corpse. I want to love Cryptopsy. I want to like them so much because their sound, like if it was for the sound alone, Cryptopsy would be up here. But their lyrics are so depraved. Like I just can't. Like after reading the lyrics to some of their songs, they're going down here in I don't know. I don't know, man. Like I'd say their lyrics are worse than Cannibal Corpse. They're worse than Autopsy. They're going into I don't like them. It's like truly disturbing lyrics from those guys. And if that's your thing, that's your thing. But like it's kind of this whole thing with cattle decapitation with the whole gender reassignment video. It's just their lyrics seem exploitative, and I just can't get behind that. What is this? Sorry, I was just trying to decipher the Cynic logo. Like my brain was like second guessing. Is that Cynic? Am I reading that right? But never heard of Cult of Luna. Cynic is great. Cynic's a great. They're awesome. They do that jazz fusion thing mixed with death metal, and I think that's such a cool sound. I am absolutely a huge fan of jazz fusion, and a big fan of death metal. So Cynic really scratches the itch of having all of that in one awesome sound. So they're a great band. Never heard of these guys. Never heard of these guys. Dan Swano, I've heard. Like, I know who he is. He, I believe he was the singer of shoot, I'm the Swedish band. I can't remember what the band name is. They're probably in, honestly. But yeah, I've never really heard any of his stuff. Danzig, not really my thing. You know, I feel like the bluesy stuff, all power to you, but you know, not my thing. Dark Angel, great band. The album Darkness Descends is just cult classic, just absolute like kind of underground thrash classic band or album. Dark Fortress, never really heard anything from them. I've heard the name before. Dark Funeral, don't really like them for the same reason as Behemoth. Just way too like edgelord for me. Really harp on that satanic stuff a lot. Like I said, you know, I'm religious, so any harping on Satanism. And here's the thing, like I think you can do it tastefully. Like I think, you know, like I said, I have an open mind, and I think if you're exploring philosophical ideas, like sure, you know, I have an open mind. But like bands that are just like edgelords just really comes across not great for me. Dark Tranquility. We're gonna put Dark Tranquility up in goated, honestly, right next to Bellacore. The Gallery, absolute banger. That's the only album I've listened to by them. I need to listen to more of them. But yeah, The Gallery is amazing, like S tier album. These guys, Dark Throne, they're a classic. I mean, they kind of do the satanic stuff a little bit too, so they might kind of be in here, but they don't bug me as much as these bands do. I know for a lot of you guys, it's no questions asked straight up here, but I'm gonna say they're okay. You know, they're a little too lo-fi for me. They do that creepy black metal sound really well. But yeah, they're okay. I wouldn't really go to them. I would probably put it not my thing, but not bad, because I don't really see myself ever throwing on Dark Throne while I'm listening to music. Heard of them. Get all these guys out of the way. Death Heaven. I've never really. I've heard. I believe it was the song Sunbather. I think that's all I've heard from Death Heaven. And it was. I mean, it's kind of cool. It was kind of not my thing, but I want to like them. But I don't think I've listened to enough of them to really form an opinion. So I'm just gonna put them in there. Death Angel, they're okay. You know, kind of like Dark Angel, but I just remember when I was in high school, I put on a thrash playlist and they played some Dark Angel. They played the song Darkness Descends, and I'm sitting there like banging my head. They played Death Angel. I'm like, oh, this seems a little tame. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, they're okay. I don't know what that is. Death. Easiest goated tier in the world. Death is one of the greatest bands of all time. The bass player, I believe. No, it wasn't the bass player. It was the drummer from Cynic. Actually played on one of Death's albums. It might have even been two of Death's albums. So I know they're very connected with Cynic. Kind of a similar sound, honestly, and they're very philosophical lyrics. Same with Cynic as well. The reason that I put Death above Cynic is because I just like Death better. But like they're very similar in very similar realms. Death just I think is a step above. Just every single album that, with the exception of Scream Bloody Gore, I'm not the biggest fan of Scream Bloody Gore, just because it's kind of like into the category of this where it's just a little too edgy for me. But you know, everything beyond Scream Bloody Gore, just S tier after S tier after S tier. Every single album Death has put out is an S tier album. So the quickest goated rating I have ever done in my entire life. Amazing band. Check them out if you've never listened to them. They are so good. And read their lyrics too. Like I said, the Scream Bloody Gore lyrics, they're just kind of like edgy teenagers trying to be like gross and gory. But everything beyond that, like the lyrics are just some of the most deep philosophical lyrics you'll ever read, and Chuck just seemed like a really like deep thinker. So a lot of respect for Chuck as a person, as a musician, as a visionary. So yeah, up into goated. Death Row, never heard of them. Heard of these guys? Decapitated, I've heard of them, but I've never listened to a brutal death metal band if I remember right. Deep Purple. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Right next to Blue Oyster Cult. They're pretty good. Not really. I never find myself going back and listening to Deep Purple, but classic rock band. They came out with Smoke on the Water, like one of the most iconic guitar riffs of all time. So I'd say they're pretty good. Def Leppard, not my thing, but they're okay. Def Leppard's okay. Just not really my thing, but I'd put if Def Leppard came on the radio, I'd listen to them. Deftones. I've listened to Deftones. Here's the thing with Deftones. This is gonna sound really stupid, but like the album cover for Around the Fur has always bothered me. So I never got into them. But I've been listening to a couple Deftones songs recently, and Be Quiet and Drive. Screw it. They're goated. Be Quiet and Drive. Just for that song alone, goated. Deicide. I don't like Deicide for the same reason as Behemoth, for the same reason as Belphegor, for the same reason as Dark Funeral. It's way too edgy. Although Glenn Benton seems to have gotten kind of his head on straight. He seems to be a chill dude lately. I've seen some interviews with him. But Deicide's music, you gotta take their whole discography into account. So I'm gonna say I don't really like them. Never heard of these guys. I do recognize that a little bit. Is that Demolich? Demolich, yeah. Okay. So Demolich. I would need to listen to more of them to form a better opinion of them, but I'd say they're pretty good. Really, really weird, brutal death metal, almost going onto that like slam type thing. But they got some like really weird, like progressive, almost jazzy sections in their stuff. So I'd have to listen to a full album from them, but like they might go up a couple tiers if I listen to them more. But for now, I'm gonna put them here because I just don't know enough about them. But I did like what I heard from them. Demolition Hammer, I've heard the name, never listened to them. Heard of them. Despised Icon. Absolute garbage because of their lyrics. Again, misogyny. We are not a fan of misogyny here. Despised Icon, absolute garbage. Destroyer 666. Heard of them but never listened to them. Destruction, heard of them but never listened to them. Death Clock. Death Clock. I'll say they're okay. Just don't know enough about them, but they're all right. Devil Driver, heard of the name. Don't know who that is. Devin Townsend. Never listened to him, surprisingly, but I've heard really good things about him. Devourment. Pretty good. I say Devourment's pretty good. Never heard of them. Diamond Head. Not really my thing, but not bad. Kind of for the same reason as Accept, but I'd say they're better than Accept. I was really harsh on Accept, but I'm gonna still keep them there just because they're touted as this big old like great speed metal band, and then you listen to them and you're like, oh, am I listening to freaking hair metal? It's just kind of how I see them. So. Demi Borgir. They kind of do the satanic thing too, but it's not in a way that's like obnoxious or anything like that. Demi Borgir. I really like Progenies of the Great Apocalypse, even though that's a pretty like blatantly satanic song. Like if you listen to like what they're singing about, it's It is, but you know, if you look at it with an open mind, it's like, you know, that kind of saying some stuff in there. I'm gonna say Dimmy Borgir is okay. I just haven't heard enough of their stuff. Dio. I say Dio's a great band. Dio's a great band. What's that? Disembowelment? Is that what that says? Yeah, that is what that says. Okay. Never really listened to them. I've heard the name before. Disillusion, never heard of them. What's this? What's this? I've never heard of them. Dissection. Okay. So Dissection. Here's where I get this like big moral dilemma. Dissection. I'm going to say they're absolute garbage, and that is a hot take and a half, but it's because of their singer. Let me look him up. Yeah, John Nodveit. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but let's just kind of look at him as a person real quick, and you'll probably very quickly see why I put them into absolute garbage. In July 1998, Nodveit was convicted of being an accessory to the 1997 murder of Joseph Ben Medour. Let's see. Doesn't really go into why he did it, but let me tell you, he was a member of a satanic cult, and he was a very homophobic man, and he lured that man into his apartment and then shot him in the head because he was gay. So, absolute garbage. Dissection's absolute garbage. I refuse to listen to Dissection because of that, even though I've heard that they are some of the best music in the metal world. I will not listen to Dissection for that reason. Disturbed. Let's see. Oh, sweet. I can pin the images. Oh, I didn't know this earlier. Disturbed. They're okay. Down with the Sickness is a banger. Stupefy is a banger. Everything else I've heard from them, they're okay. Never heard of this band. Never heard of that band. Dope. I haven't listened to enough of them. Let's see. There we go. Just accidentally put some stuff into the wrong tier. Dope is kind of like that industrial metal, almost like Marilyn Manson. In fact, the song that I did hear from them, I think it was called Debonair. I thought it was a Marilyn Manson song the first time I heard it, but you know, we're gonna put it here just because I don't know much about them. Down, same thing. Phil Anselmo Project. What's this? I want to say I've heard of this band before. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Dragon Force. I say Dragon Force is pretty good. They're fun. Dream Theater. Goated. I do love me some Dream Theater. DRI. DRI is pretty good. They're kind of meat and potatoes, crossover thrash. A lot like Anthrax, but more hardcore. What's this? Drudk. But Drudk, and they're pretty good. Atmospheric black metal. I just need to listen to more of them. But from what I have heard from them, I think they're pretty good. Dying Fetus. They kind of hit that edgy thing, but not as bad as some of those other bands. I have heard some bangers from them. I want to say, I feel like a poser because I haven't heard much from them. So I'm going to say Dying Fetus, they're pretty good. I'm going to say they're pretty good. Never heard of this band. Edge of Sanity. I think that's where Dan Swano's from, if I remember right. I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them. Let's see. I think I accidentally put one of them in. Anyway, oh well. These two are kind of the same tier anyway. They're just, they're very similar. Never heard of these guys. Electric Wizard, not really my thing. I'm not really a stoner metal guy, but they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. Ovette, I'd say Ovette is pretty good. Um, let's see, they're actually really, really pretty music. I have a couple of their songs saved on Spotify. We're gonna say I've never heard of these guys. Emperor. So I was thinking of Emperor when I said we're gonna say. Emperor. We're gonna put them into. Uh, they do the satanic thing, but it's more of like a mystical, like creepy thing. It's not like they're being like edgelords. So, Emperor. I just need to listen to them more. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't listened to them a ton because of the satanic thing. But I really do like I Am the Black Wizards. Like I'm the Black Wizards, I think is a goated song. I would say they're pretty good. We'll kind of split the difference, compromise. And Sephirum. I just need to listen to more of Sephirum to make an opinion on them. I don't listen to them really. Enslaved, goated, absolutely goated. Progressive black metal. The album Frost. Holy crap! The first time I ever listened to that, like all the way through, like seriously, because the weird thing is I listened to Frost when I was in high school and just didn't really get it. It didn't really do it for me. It just seemed too noisy for me. But then, like literally, like a couple months ago, I sat through the whole thing. It blew me away. Like Enslaved is goated. Entombed. I'd say Entombed. Not my thing. You know, if it was for Left Hand Path, they'd be up higher. They still kind of do the edgy satanic thing, which is kind of annoying. But I mean, the sound of Left Hand Path was just so good. Never heard of this. Epica. Epica's pretty good. Let's see. I don't even know what that is. So we're gonna put them in never heard of them, never heard of them, never heard of them. Never listened to Every Time I Die, but I've heard a lot about them. Never heard of Evil Dead. I don't know what this logo is. I'm going to say never heard of them. And again, like, you know, if you first of all, if you can decipher the logo, put it in the comments or put it in the in the comments with the timestamp. Let me know what it is. And if you have any recommendations from these bottom two tiers, let me know. Exciter, I would say Exciter goes in the same tier as Accept. They have this like, oh yeah, Exciter, this is gonna be super cool, and then you turn it on and it's just like super tame. Exhorter, I don't really listen to them. Same with Exhumed. Exodus, I would say Exodus is a great band. I haven't listened to a ton of them, but it's like interesting. Like I remember when I was younger, again, like this is kind of a trend. I've never listened to Exhumer before either. I Hate God. I've heard bad things about them, just that they're super depressing, but I've never listened to them, so I don't have an opinion on them. Faith No More, I think is great. I need to listen to more of them, but I really like Epic. And I've heard a breakdown of them as a band, and they just seem like a pretty cool band. So I say they're great. But anyway, like I was saying, what was I saying? Yeah, Exodus. So I put on Bonded by Blood when I was younger, and I didn't really get it. And then I listened to it when I was older, and I liked it a lot better. So yeah, they're a great band. Don't know about these guys. Fear Factory. Fear Factory. I would need to listen to them more. I listened to them a little bit, and I thought they were pretty good. I have no idea who this is. No idea who that is. What's that? No idea who that is. Five Finger Death Punch. Absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. Ivan Moody just comes across as like an insufferable douchebag. Absolute garbage. Just comes across as like military bro, like I'm tougher than you. I'm better than you because I'm tougher than you, and because I'm more buff than you, I'm tougher than you, so I'm better than you. That's all I get from Five Finger Death Punch. So they're absolute garbage. Fleshbound Apocalypse is super cool. Like it's almost like orchestral death metal. So I just haven't listened to them a whole lot. I'm gonna say they're a great band. Let's see. Never heard of these guys. Never heard of these guys. These guys. Ghost. They kind of do the satanic thing too. But it's almost like a parody, which I think is a little entertaining. Ghost. I haven't listened to them enough to have an opinion. These guys. What the heck? Yeah, we're gonna go like that. Goat Whore. I've never listened to them. I've definitely heard the name. I don't feel like I would like them. I've heard the name God Dethroned before. I've never listened to them. Godflesh. Never heard of them. Or I've heard of them, but never listened to them. Gojira. I'm gonna say Gojira is a great band. I haven't listened to them a ton, but I have heard some of their stuff, and I did like what I heard. Gorefest. I've heard the name. Never listened to them. I have no idea what this one is. I was getting way into that. Gorement. Yeah, these edgy guys. Never heard of Gorement. Gorgoroth, not really my thing. I don't like them. For obvious reasons there. And they kind of do come across as edgelords, to be completely honest. Gorguts. Lots of gore names. The thing with Gorguts, they're a great band. They're a little too avant-garde with the whole Obscura album, but I might need to give it another try. I have a feeling I'd probably like it if I give it another try. But their first two albums I think are great, like really, really good death metal. Let's see. Grave Diggers, never heard of them. I have heard of Grave, but I don't know anything about them. Never heard of them. Heard of them. Or them. Cadillacs. This is like a porno grind band. And absolute garbage. Like, I am not into that stuff at all. I don't even know what that says, so I'm going to say never heard of them. Guar. I've just never listened to them enough to know really much about them. I think they're kind of like in the Ghost camp where they're like just kind of a goofy band. Like they look a lot more heavy than they really are. Like if you look at Ghost, you think they're like on the lines of Behemoth, but then they write like pop music. So that's just kind of the funny thing. Like Guard by no means is pop music, but like they just look like they'd sound way heavier than they are, and then it's just kind of like speed metal, like parody metal stuff. So I just don't know enough about Guard to have an opinion on them. I know how they sound, but I just can't really make an opinion on them. Don't know anything about them. Don't know anything about Hammerfall or Hatebreed. I definitely know who Hatebreed is. I just never listened to them. Havoc, same with them. Never heard of Hazard. Never heard of Heathen. Hellhammer. Let's see. Hellhammer is extremely influential, but I'm just gonna say they're not really my thing. Halloween, not really my thing. I'm not really a I almost said black metal. I'm not really a power metal guy. Hellstar, never heard of them. Never heard of Hexen. Never heard of High on Fire. Never heard of these guys. These guys. These guys. I think I have heard of Hoth. I just don't know anything about them. So I don't know if you guys would recommend Hoth to me, but let me know. But yeah, that's Hoth. I've never heard of Humiliation. Is that Iron Maiden? No, it's not Iron Maiden. What does that say? Hypocrisy. It just looked like the Iron Maiden font from like afar. Hypocrisy. I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them. Never listened to these guys. Iced Earth, absolute garbage because of their singer. If you know, you know. I think he was part of the J6 riots. So, yep, absolute garbage. We do not put up with stuff like that on this channel. Immolation. I've heard of Immolation. I've just never really listened to them. Immortal, goated. Immortal's goated. I have Sons of Northern Darkness on CD. Absolutely amazing. I have no idea what that even says, but I never heard of it. Don't recognize the logo. In Flames, goated. In Flames is amazing. Like even Sense of Clarity. I love that album. Earlier stuff's great. Sense of Clarity's great. I haven't listened to much of their later stuff, but like they got some bangers. In Morning, I feel like I've listened to them. Yeah, I think I did. But I just don't know much about them to form an opinion. I think that if I remember right, they're kind of like a doom metal band, like a death doom band. In the Woods, I've never heard of In the Woods. With them, Incantation's not really my thing. I don't know. I'm gonna. Okay, let's do some research. I think Incantation had a really like horrible band member as well. Let's see. I don't think he's in the band anymore, though. Yeah, he's not in the band anymore, so I can't judge them based on him because he's not in the band anymore. But it was. Where is he? Paul Ledney. Yeah, Paul Ledney's just a creep. Like I'm sorry. Like I've heard about Paul Ledney. I've like heard about some of the stuff that he's been involved with. He just comes across as a real creep. So I'm just gonna say I don't like Incantation for that reason. And plus they're kind of edgelord satanic type stuff, kind of like Behemoth and Gorgoroth and Dark Funeral. So we're gonna put them in the same camp. Infant Annihilator. Never really listened to Infant Annihilator. I know who they are. I know they're kind of a deathcore band that just is really over the top, but never really heard of them. We're gonna say, yeah, I can't even read that logo. Never heard of them. Inquisition. I don't like Inquisition for the same reason as Dark Funeral. I'd say they're a little less edgy, but they do kind of do that like Satan worship thing. And I'm gotta say I'm not a big fan of that. But their sound is pretty interesting. If it was just based on their sound, I'd probably put them in there pretty good. But I don't do the whole Satan worship thing. So Insomnium, goated. Absolutely love Insomnium. Insomnium's amazing. If you've never heard Insomnium, please go listen to them. I see that we have one member. Can you hear me very well? Put in the chat if you can hear me very well. I'm just using my phone audio. This is my first time doing this, so just let me know if you can hear me very well. But anyway, back to the whole thing. Oh, he left. Anyway, Insomnium, yeah, goated, S tier, absolutely amazing. Just some of the most beautiful music I've ever heard. The album Winter's Gate, that would be my recommendation. You got to listen to the whole album because it's like, I think the way it's structured is it's like 8 or 9 parts, and each song is just Winter's Gate Part 1, Winter's Gate Part 2, all the way up through like 9. So yeah, absolutely amazing. I have no idea what that band is. Iron Maiden. Iron Maiden is a great band. I know they're kind of old school, but they're a great band. Iron Savior. I've never heard of Iron Savior. I have heard of ISIS. I should give ISIS a try. I've heard some good things about them. Never heard of Joe Panzer. Ginger. It's a Ginger. I just don't know enough about them. But I mean, female-fronted death metal band. You just don't see that very often. So I'd say they're a great band. Because she kills it. She does amazing. Job for a Cowboy, I would say they're okay, For what they do, they're okay. Not totally my thing, but they're not, I don't dislike them enough to put them in this tier. So I'd say they're okay. Judas Priest, they're pretty good. It's like if it was just for the song Painkiller, goated. but I think everything else averages it out to they're pretty good. Camelot. I've heard of them, but never listened to them. Catatonia. I've heard them a little bit, but I just don't know enough about them to have an opinion on them. K-Dot, never heard of them. Killing Joke, I have heard of them. I've never listened to them. Killswitch Engage is a great band, even though I haven't heard a whole lot about them. King Diamond isn't really my thing. I know he kind of does the satanic thing, but it comes across kind of like theatrical, and so it's not my thing. King Gizzard, they're in the metal tier list. That's really weird. I can't at all. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. We're gonna put them. I just haven't really heard enough of them to have an opinion. King's X. I have heard of them. KMFDM. What song did KMFDM do? I know they had a one-hit wonder type thing. I just don't know enough about them. Korn. I say Korn is pretty good. Korn is pretty good. They're pretty heavy, like lyrically and everything, but I think there's a purpose to it. You know, Jonathan Davis has been through a lot. It's kind of his outlet, and he doesn't glorify any of it. It's to kind of like show how twisted people can be. It's like a, saying that, hey, this stuff isn't good. We're going to sing about this stuff to, kind of show that it's out there, and, don't, these things aren't good. We're telling our stories of what has happened to us or people we know, so it can be told, and I think that's great. But I just don't listen to them enough, so I'd say they're pretty good. Let's see. I need to talk about the song Daddy while we're here. Because that's kind of probably their most infamous song. I've listened to that song a couple times, and not gonna lie, it is a really rough listen. But I think stuff like that, we're gonna get real serious here. For the viewer watching right now, we're talking about Korn. I put them in that they're pretty good, and I know that they have a lot of really heavy lyrical content. And I'm talking about the song Daddy because it's one of their most infamous songs. Just for that, we're going to put them in great, because that song deals with really, really heavy subjects, but it does it in a way to spread awareness and to show how horrible it is to do something like that to someone. It really puts it front and center. Like, you can tell that Jonathan Davis was completely messed up because of what happened to him and what he was singing on in Daddy. And I think it's a great way to just show how horrible people that do stuff like that are. Like, it's an expose, and then he like literally has a mental breakdown at the end of the song. It's a really powerful song, but it's definitely not easy listening. You definitely don't just put it on because you want to listen to music. It's one of the songs that, it's got a strong message, and you listen to it and it's like, whoa, very, very good message about SA, about like the horrors of SA. So for that, we're gonna say they're a great band. I'd say they're a little too heavy lyrically to put them in goated, but I'd say great band. Creator, I don't know enough about Creator. So I'm gonna be safe and put them in here. Never heard of this band. Lacuna Coil, don't know enough about them. Never heard of them. Lamb of God. Lamb of God's kind of a groove metal band. I'd say they're a great band, I've never really listened to them a ton, but I know enough to know what they sound like, and I'd say they're a great band. I can't read that. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know what that says. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Or them. What is this? Leviathan? I think. Yeah, Leviathan. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't. I know it's one of those like DSBM bands. Let me look up the logo. Yeah, that's Leviathan. Okay. The thing about Leviathan, so they're a DSBM band. They talk about I'm gonna euphemistic language because of YouTube and monetization and stuff like that. But Leviathan is a very depressive band that sings about not being in this world anymore. And to me, they're just too heavy lyrically. I'm gonna say nah. They reach that edginess level too. I'm gonna say I don't like them because they have, and you know, if you know Leviathan, you'll probably know the song title, what I'm talking about. They have a song title that is very, very graphic and very like yikesy. So I'm gonna say I don't like them. I can see why some people might though, because it speaks to, I would say like a positive about them is like the mental health aspect of, you know, people that are struggling might be able to connect with their lyrics because they might be able to relate and it might be able to help them get through what they're going through. But that being said, to me, where I'm not really in that place, I think it would kind of drag me down to that place, if that makes sense. And I don't necessarily want to do that. So I'm going to say I don't like them, but if you do, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. Like if their music makes you feel better, makes you feel like it's easier to go through whatever you're going through, I think that's great. Limp Bizkit. honestly, hot take. Limp Bizkit. They're kind of fun. Linkin Park is S tier. Goated. Absolutely. Specifically for their first two albums. Absolutely amazing. Some of my favorite music of all time. I absolutely love Linkin Park. Chester Bennington's vocals are amazing. He has this way of really, really cutting through your soul with the way he sings and with what he sings about his lyrics and what he's going through. The juxtaposition of Mike Shinoda's rapping over some of the kind of trippy electronic style beats with the new metal over it just really, really does something for me. So Linkin Park's goated. Liquid Tension Experiment is cool. I'd say great band. I've never heard of Lost Horizon. Never heard of Loudness. I don't know what MH is. Malevolent Creation. I'd say Malevolent Creation is pretty good. I've heard a couple songs from them. I'm not too familiar, but I've heard a couple songs. What's this? I don't know what that says. So, with that being said, we are going to put them into. Never heard of them. Vanilla Road. Never heard of them. Manowar is not my thing. I'm sorry. I just don't like Manowar. This is way too cheesy for me. Marduk. We're gonna put them in. I don't like them. Right in there with Dark Funeral and Behemoth. Marilyn Manson, absolute garbage. Marilyn Manson is a horrible, absolutely garbage, abusive person. So he goes into absolute garbage. Martyr, never heard of them. Mastodon. Okay, so Mastodon, I've been getting into Mastodon lately. I don't know if it's too soon to say it, but I'm gonna leave them in great band. I'm gonna be safe and leave them in great band, but they might go up here when I get more into them. But Mastodon's great. We're gonna put them up there in great band. Let's see. Never heard of these guys. Mayhem. Okay, so Mayhem. I have a love-hate relationship with Mayhem. They've got some really, really banger songs. I don't know. So it's this whole ethical thing of like Euronymous as a human piece of garbage. If it wasn't for Euronymous, they'd be up a lot higher. But Euronymous also wasn't in the band for that long. He was only in the band for one album. So, but he is the guy that really like gained them notoriety and everything. So I don't know. What do you think about what do you think about Mayhem? The one guy watching, what do you think about Mayhem? Should I put them in absolute garbage because of Euronymous? Or should I put them in? I don't know. I don't feel comfortable putting them up this high. I don't know. Oh, he left. Dang it. Let's see. I'm gonna say absolute garbage. I'm sorry, Euronymous was a human piece of garbage. Um, you don't take pictures of your dead friend after he committed suicide. You don't do that. So yeah, they're absolute garbage. Megadeth, not really my thing to be honest, but they're not bad. Um, and the reason I struggled so much with Mayhem is because Freezing Moon and Funeral Fog are bangers. It's just that ethical thing. I have a really hard time separating the art from the artist, and I just would feel really bad putting Mayhem any higher. What are these guys? What are these guys? These guys. First, Fate. Okay. Heard of them, but never listened to them. Meshuggah. Meshuggah's cool. I just haven't heard of. I know Bleed. Everyone knows Bleed, but I just haven't really listened to enough of them to have an opinion. Metal Church. Never really listened to Metallica. Goated. Magua. Great band. Exercises in Futility is really, really cool. The great band. If you haven't listened to Magua, listen to Exercises in Futility. It's really, really cool. Midnight. Never heard of them. Ministry. I'm gonna say I don't like Ministry because they kind of fall into that edgelord category of like writing about really depraved things. So yeah, I'm gonna put them in there. Misfits. I want to like Misfits so much, but it's kind of the lyrical content as well. A little too shocking for me. But I don't know, they're just such a classic, they've influenced like every band that I like. I'm just gonna say they're okay. Moon Sorrow, I've heard the name, never listened to them. Moonspell, heard the name, never. Morbid Angel. They do the edgy satanic thing. But here's the thing. They don't harp on it to the point where it's obnoxious. And I don't feel like they're like devil worshippers. I think they're just kind of like trying to be creepy and mysterious. Morbid Angel. Morbid Angel's a great band. Morbid Saint. I've heard of that band. I've never listened to them. Morbid. So this is okay. So Morbid is the band that Mayhem's singer that that ended up not being in this world anymore. I know I said the word earlier, but hopefully YouTube didn't catch that. But their singer unalived himself, and he was in Morbid before he joined Mayhem. So Morbid is cool. I would say Morbid is pretty good. Mortician. Just never really listened to them, but I don't think I would really like them either, just because they're a little bit too, hacked up for barbecue. Is their album title that is like the most popular, and it's just like if you're writing songs about that, it's just not really my thing. It's a little too extreme for me. But I've never really listened to them. Same with Motionless in White, never really listened to them. Motley Crue isn't really my thing. I would put them into I don't like them. Kind of womanizers. They do the whole and I mean I know that's the whole hair metal thing, but if hair metal as a collective was on here, I would put it into I don't like it. I might even put it into absolute garbage. Motorhead. Motorhead's great. Super influential. Mr. Bungle. I need to listen to more Mr. Bungle. So I'm gonna say I haven't listened to him, but I have a feeling I would like them. Mudvayne, not really my thing, but not bad. Municipal Waste, not my thing, but not bad. What's this? Mushroom Head. Never really listened to them. I know they're kind of along the lines of like the Mudvayne thing. My Dying Bride, never listened to them. listen to these guys. I don't know anything about them. Napalm Death. Is it a stretch to say they're goated? I'm gonna say they're a great band. Napalm Death's a great band. Never listened to this band. Or never heard of them. Neobliviscaris. I've never listened to them, but I've heard good things. I've heard that they're kind of up there with Bellacore. So if they're anything like Bellacore, I'd probably really like them. I just never listened to them. Necrophagist. I'm gonna say I don't like them for the same reason as. Actually, for the same reason as Cryptopsy. Little too extreme. Let's see. Never heard of this. Neurosis. I've never listened to Neurosis. I've never listened to Nevermore. Never heard of these guys. Nightwish is cool, but I just haven't listened to enough of them. I do like Nile. Nile's pretty cool. I'd say Nile's a great band. 9 Inch Nails, not my thing, but not bad. And here's why. Kind of the same reason as where was it? They're kind of like Korn in the way that they're really, really lyrically heavy. Trent Reznor went through, and it's his outlet to cope with it. And so I have a respect for that because I really like seeing people move past their hardships in life. So for that reason, 9 Inch Nails is not my thing, but they're not bad just because they're lyrically too heavy for me, like really, really heavy lyrical matters. But I have a lot of respect for Trent Reznor for being so open about what he was going through and helping a lot of people through what they were going through. Let's see. Nocturnal. What does that say? Nocturnal Depression. Okay, yeah, I've heard of that band. I've just never listened to them. Nocturnus, never listened to them. I don't know what that is. Don't know what that is. November's Doom. I've heard of them, never listened to them. Nuclear Assault. Okay, yeah, I've heard of them. Never listened. Obituary. Okay. Obituary. I apologize. Like I keep having like one person join and then leave and everything. So Obituary, I'd say Obituary is a great band. It's just really great death metal. Obscura. Yep. Okay. I would say Obscura. I would need to listen to them more. Never listened to them. Of Mice and Men, I say they're okay. I know their singer's not a great guy. I've heard that it's allegations. I've heard that there's nothing really proven about him. I like the song Second and Sebring, so the story behind that song, it's kind of touching. So they're okay. Like I wouldn't really go back to them a whole lot, but I do like that song. Onslaught, I've heard of them, but never listened to them. Opeth is goated, absolutely goated. Blackwater Park's one of my favorite albums of all time. If you never listen to Blackwater Park, please listen to it. Opeth is goated. Never heard of this band. Overkill is a band that I have listened to before. I would say they're okay. Not really. I didn't love them, but thrash. I just might need to listen to more of them. Ozzy Osbourne. I would say Ozzy Osbourne's great. Ozzy in his prime. Mr. Crowley, Crazy Train. I'd say he's pretty great. Pain of Salvation. Heard of them, but never listened to. Pallbearer. Heard of them, but never listened to. Pantera is goated. Pantheist. Heard of them, but never listened to. Papa Roach is okay. Paradise Lost. I would say, I've heard them before, but I just haven't listened to them enough to really have an opinion. Paradox, never heard of them. Parkway Drive isn't really my thing, but they're not bad. Let's see. Never heard of them. What does that say? Visage. I think that's a black metal band. I think I've heard that name before. I've never listened to it. Pentagram, I've heard, but never listened to. Periphery. I've listened to Periphery, but just I've never really gotten into them, so I'm gonna put them in there. Same with Pestilence. Same with Pig Destroyer. Never heard of these guys. Porcupine Tree's cool. I'd say Porcupine's a great band. Porcupine Tree. I wouldn't really say they're metal, but they're prog. They're pretty good. Possessed. Possessed. I'd say they're pretty good. Porcupine Tree's great, by the way. Postmortem. Never really heard of them. Power Trip. I've heard the name. Power Wolf, never heard of them. Primordial, I've heard the name. Same with Protest the Hero. We're really burning through these. Queensryche, I've never really listened to Queensryche. I definitely know who they are. I've just never really listened to them. Quiet Riot, not really my thing, but not bad. Rage Against the Machine, goated. Absolutely goated. I love Rage Against the Machine. They have never put out a bad song. Raider, never heard of them. Rainbow, I've never really listened to Rainbow. I do love Dio, though. Rammstein, not really my thing. I never go as far to say I don't like them. Never really heard of Razor. Red Fang. Never listened to them. Repulsion. So Repulsion's a grindcore band. If I remember right, I think they were kind of the first grindcore band. I'm going to say they're pretty good. They're pretty good. What's this? What's this? I can't read that. Is that Revenge? I think Revenge is like one of those war metal bands. I've never really listened to them. What's this? I never listened to these guys. Never even heard of them. Same with Revocation. I couldn't read that for a second. Revocation's a great band. Like technical death metal, technical thrash metal. Kind of like writing that line between thrash and death. Extremely technical. Rhapsody of Fire. I think I've heard that name before. Rigor Mortis. Definitely heard the name. Rings of Saturn is great. Let's see. I've heard of them. Rob Zombie. I'd say Rob Zombie's pretty good. Running Christ. I've never really listened to them. I don't love the name of that. You know, me being a Christian and everything. I don't love that name. But like I said, I have an open mind. But I have a feeling I wouldn't like them. But I mean, anything's possible. Never heard of them. Sabaton is not really my thing. Again, not really a power metal guy. Sabat. I've definitely heard of them, but I've not listened to them. Sacramentum. I've listened to them a little bit. And from what I heard, they're pretty good. The Sacred Reich. I've heard of them. I've not heard of Sacrifice or Sacrilege. Sadistic Execution. Never heard of them. Sadus. Big, huge influence on Chuck Schuldiner. I see Sadus is pretty good. I haven't listened to enough of them, but they're kind of along the lines of maybe like maybe along the lines of a Dark Angel, kind of similar sound to them, but a little bit more heavy, a little bit more harsh vocals going on there. Big influence on Death. I believe their bassist Steve DiGiorgio played on a couple Death albums, so that's really cool. Played the fretless bass, got a really cool sound with that. You can hear him like sliding around. You can't hear like the sharp like changes between notes. You just hear the like the slides. It's super cool stuff. Saint Vitus, I've definitely heard of them. I've never listened to them. Samael, same with them. I don't know what that says. Sarcophago. How could you not know who Sarcophago is? They have one of the most iconic lines. Let me look it up. They're from Brazil. INRI. Yeah, these are pretty pretty edgy lyrics, to be honest, but there is a political meaning behind it that I can get behind. Let's see, where is it? Where's the funny one? Death Thrash. Okay. Okay, get ready to hear some of the funniest lyrics you will ever hear. More a hardcore metal night start. Let me torture you with my growls. Make you burst your head. Thrash. Playing the symphony of atomic war. Okay, and then this is the one that I heard. If you are a false don't entry, the nuclear drums will crush your brain because you'll be burned and died, slaughtering all with intensive pain. It's pure poetry there. Sarcophago, where did they go? Where are they? Shoot, where did I, okay. No, that's Sacramento. Shoot, where did I put Sarcophago? I don't know where they're at. They disappeared. Where did they go? Where did they go? Anyway, I just haven't really listened to them that much. So it's probably just safest to put them in here. I've just heard about them. So anyway, moving on. Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Heard of them. I do love me some Satyricon. Satyricon's a great band. Mother North is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard, especially the live version of that. If you want to hear some beautiful metal, look up the live version of Mother North by Satyricon. It's the one where they have like the whole choir of like opera singers. One of the most beautiful pieces of music I've ever heard. Let's see. Never heard of them. Saxon's not really my thing. Again, just not really a big like power metal guy. But nothing wrong with them, you know. Scar Symmetry is cool. I just don't know enough about them, but I would say, you know, for what they do, they're a great band. Scorpions, not really my thing, but not bad. Let's see, never heard of them. I have heard of Septic Flesh. Sepultura is... It really depends on the day. If I'm really feeling the thrash thing, Sepultura is goated. But I just don't listen to Sepultura enough. I just say they're a great band, but they're, you know, up higher on the great band. What's this? Shadows Fall. Okay, Shadows Fall is a great band. They're a great metalcore band. What's this? Shining, I think. Yeah, Shining. We're gonna say absolute garbage because of Nicholas Kavarforth. Let's look up Nicholas Kavarforth. And all the controversy behind him. He has been accused of assaulting and threatening audience members. He is extreme and violent, fights members of bands, hands out razor blades to audience members, and encourages them to cut themselves. Encourages them to do things with the razor blades. Yeah, Shining is absolute garbage. I don't know how to read that. Silencer. I'd say Silencer is... I don't know. Silencer's a little too edgy for me. Are they edgy enough to put them in absolute garbage, though? I think that's reserved for the worst of the worst. I'm just going to say I don't like Silencer. They're too edgy for me. Sinister. Never heard of them. 6 Feet Under. It's not fair to put them in the same tier as all these, like, absolute human pieces of garbage, but I'm just going to say I don't like them. And not to say that the guy in Despised Icon is a human piece of garbage. I don't know what he's like in real life, but you know, going off their lyrics are absolute garbage, like misogynistic bullcrap. So, yeah, they're staying in there. Skeleton Witch, I've heard of them, but never listened to them. Same with Skid Row. Never heard of them. Slayer, okay, so Slayer has got to be the most overrated band in the whole metal scene. And I got one person on here, and he's probably going to leave after. Yep, he left right after I said that. Slayer... When Slayer hits, they hit. but the thing is they had maybe like 3 albums that hit out of like at least 9 albums that they have. That's like a third of their discography is really good, and then like the rest of it's just kind of mediocre. So I'm gonna say Slayer is okay. Sleep, I never really listen to them. I don't like Slipknot at all. I think Corey Taylor's kind of an edgelord. I'm sure he's a good person, but it's just Slipknot to me just has this vibe that I just don't like. It's like the whole like, oh, I'm crazy, and that's just the way I am. I'm just a crazy guy, and no one can do anything about that. You don't like me, can't handle me at my worst. You don't deserve me at my best. That's kind of the attitude I get from like Slipknot and their fans. So anyway, yeah, never heard of these guys. SOD, we're gonna say SOD's okay. All right. Sodom. Let's see. The song Agent Orange is great. I'm gonna say they're pretty good. I don't know much about Soilwork. Never heard about these guys. Soulfly, never listened to them. I know that it's the guys from Sepultura though. Soundgarden. I do love me some Soundgarden. Soundgarden's great. I wouldn't say they're metal though. Spawn of Possession. I've heard them. I've just never listened to them. So the Spinal Tap. I've heard a little bit of Static X, but not enough to have an opinion. Absolute garbage for Steel Panther. Absolute like womanizing, just pieces of garbage. Just human garbage. Steel Panther's awful. I know people think that they're funny, but it's just, yeah. If you know, you know. Steppenwolf. Again, wouldn't say that they're metal, but like, I'd say Steppenwolf's pretty good. Strapping Young Lad, don't know much about them. Stradivarius, don't know much about them. So what is that? Streborg. I've heard the name before. I just don't know anything about them. Suffocation. Suffocation is goated. Suffocation's amazing. Leisure and Veracity is what I'm basing that off of, but they're amazing. Suicidal Tendencies. I'd say great band. I'm feeling great band. Suicide Silence. I don't really like them. No disrespect to Mitch Lucker. They're a little too edgy for me. Is this Summoning? What is this? I want to say this is Summoning. Yeah, Summonin. Yeah, yep, Summoning. I need to listen to them more, but like from what I heard, ambient black metal, I'd say they're a great band. Sun. I've heard them. I just haven't really listened to them. I'm gonna get rid of all these ones I've never heard of. Swallow the Sun. I've listened to them once, but not enough to have an opinion on them. Let's see. Symphony X is pretty good. I'd say they're pretty good. We're blasting through these because this is already like an hour and 43 minutes. So, but hopefully this is entertaining. Hopefully this is an interesting discussion. System of a Down is goated. One of my absolute favorite bands. Never put out a bad song. And they're really fun to sing along to. Yeah, fun stuff. Take, however you say that. I know they're a black metal band. That's pretty much all I know about them. I've never listened to them. I've never heard of these guys. Terrorizer. Terrorizer is going into goated. The song, let's see, I think it's After World Obliteration. Off the album World Downfall. Let's see. Yep, After World Obliteration, like absolute 10 out of 10, like 11 out of 10 song. So they're going in goated just for that song. Tesseract, heard of them but never listened to. Same with Testament. Amity Affliction, same. The Angelic Process, never heard of them. Black Dahlia Murder. I'd say Black Dahlia Murder is pretty good. What does that say? A chasm. I honestly have never heard of them. The Contortionist, I've heard of the Contortionist, never heard of the Crown. Devil Wears Prada. I'm gonna say Devil Wears Prada is pretty good. Dillinger Escape Plan, not really my thing, but not bad. Just a little too mathy for me. The Faceless. I need to listen to the Faceless. I've heard really good things about them, but I've just never really listened to them. The Gathering. Lots of we're getting all the thes. Never heard of The Gathering. I have heard of the God Machine, just never listened to them. Never heard of these guys. Red Chord. I've just never listened to them. I've heard they're a pretty good deathcore band, though. I've heard of the Ruins of Beverest. I just never listened to them. What was this? Sins of the Beloved. Sins of Thy Beloved, my bad. I want to say I've heard that name before. I definitely have heard of The Sword. I think they're like a old school, like, just heavy metal band. I've heard of this band. What was this? What is this? I can't even read that. And I feel like if I knew who it was, I'd recognize the logo. So, nope. Thin Lizzy. Thin Lizzy's just kind of fun, honestly. Like, Thin Lizzy's a great band. I'm going to say Thin Lizzy's a great band. They're, just a fun hard rock band. Thorns. Never really listened to them. Throes of Dawn, I think is what that says. Yeah. I've heard of that. Never listened to it. Never heard of Through the Eyes of Dead. Never heard of this band. I heard is Murder. I just don't know much about them, but I've heard their lyrics are pretty bad, so I'm gonna put them in absolute garbage, kind of for the same reason as Asking Alexandria. I've heard that there are a lot of like the, murder your ex-girlfriend in really bad ways lyrics. So yeah, we're not all about that at all. So we're gonna put them in absolute garbage. What's that? Dicatafog. I've never heard of them at all. What's this? I can't read that, so I'm gonna put them in never heard of them. Sorry, we're zooming in and out. Yeah, we're gonna put both of these into. This is Tomb Mold, I believe. I can barely make that out. Yep, I have heard of them. I've just never listened to them, but I've heard good things about them. Tool is goated. Some very profound lyrics in Tool. Toxic Holocaust is not really. They're okay. Toxic Holocaust is okay. I'm gonna say, yeah, never heard of these guys. Trivium. Just haven't listened to enough of Trivium to have an opinion. So we're gonna put them there. Maybe I'll listen to more Trivium. Never listened to Trollfest, Trouble. I've never even heard of any of these guys. Twisted Sister's fun. They're funny. I'd say, I don't know. They don't take themselves seriously. Dee Snider, like, yeah, I'm going to put them next to Thin Lizzy just because of Dee Snider with the whole PMRC thing. Typo Negative. I've never listened to them. I have heard of them. I've heard that their singer is kind of not a great guy, but I just don't know anything about them other than their name. Ulver, goated. Ulver is goated. Absolutely, just some of the most beautiful black metal I've ever heard in my entire life. Ulver is amazing. I'm like folk, atmospheric black metal, just absolutely amazing. Listen to Ulver. Same with Unearth. I absolutely love Unearth. I'm just gonna scroll through and see if any more of these are goated. I would say none of these are goated. So I'm just going to start going through ones I've never heard of. I have heard of Vader. I just don't know enough about them. Van Halen. Van Halen's fun. Like David Lee Roth, Van Halen is kind of hard to beat when you just want some fun music to throw on. Veil of Maya. Funny enough, taken from a Cynic song. I've never really listened to them, but I've heard good things. What's this? I can't read that. So, but I feel like I've seen that logo before, so I'm gonna say I've heard of them but never listened. Venom. I don't really like Venom. It's a little too cheesy for me. Never heard of any of these bands. What's this? I have heard of Violence. We're gonna put them in here. Never heard of these. Let's kind of go through all the ones that I've never heard of. I can't even tell what that says. Witch Vomit, that's kind of funny. I can't even read a lot of these. What does that say? Wolf Chant, never heard of them. I'm trying to figure out what this one says. I know that is Zaster. I never heard of them. Let's see. Okay, so Vital Remains. Let's see. I've heard of them, but I've never listened to them. Vlad Cepis, same with them. Heard of them, but never listened to them. I recognize that logo. Volbeat, same thing. Same with Volvodania, Warbringer, Wasp. White Zombie's all right. I'd say Whitechapel. I'd say it's just hard. Like they kind of have that like tough guy thing going on, where it just seems like tough guy music, but it's not bad. Like, I want to say they're pretty good. Zayo, I just don't know enough about Zayo to really rate them, but I've heard good things about them, so I need to check them out. Why did I not? I've never heard of these bands. I don't know why Okay, so Zyklon. I've heard of Zyklon. I've just never listened to him. Winter Sun's great. You know that. No, let me pull up the album. And I know you can't see what I'm seeing right now, but I'm just trying to find the name of the album that I like from them. That is the self-titled album. That album is great. I've heard that they kind of fell off after that. I just haven't heard anything after that. But I love the self-titled Winter Sun album. Within Temptation, heard of it but never listened to it. And then Zaster. I'm gonna say let's see, where did I put Leviathan? I don't know enough about Zaster. I know they're a DSBM band, and DSBM's not really my thing. I don't know. I'm gonna put them with Leviathan. Just for the same reasons, really, really dark subject material where if it helps you get out of a rut that you're in, that's great and that's amazing, but not for me. So anyway, yeah, so I guess we'll just go over some of these bands. So first of all, if you want to pause the video and let me zoom out. Yeah, so all of you guys that know some of these bands, if you want to maybe pause the video And if any of these bands in the never heard of them are really good bands, put them in the comments. So yeah, feel free to pause it on this section. And then also on this section, if any of these bands are really, really good bands, put it in the comments. Let me know. I want more music to listen to. I do need to check out Mr. Bungle. And then just a quick recap. You know, I stand by all these goated bands. A Day to Remember is amazing. Amon Amarth, Avenged Sevenfold. You know, there's just not really much more to be said that hasn't already been said. Just absolute, just amazing bands. Especially Rage Against the Machine. I love Rage Against the Machine. Same with Opeth, Linkin Park, Death. Just, all these bands are amazing. Immortal's amazing. Yeah, I think this turned out really well. So yeah, let me know, like, if you're surprised at the amount of bands that I knew. If you know, let me know if you knew a lot of these bands. This was almost like 600 bands, so took us about 2 hours. But yeah, I mean, it was fun to go through and kind of talk about these bands a little bit. And if you want more material like this, please let me know. I will be on YouTube a lot more often. I'm trying to make more content, and I have a Patreon in the description in case you wanted to support the channel. That way I can actually put more effort into these videos, put more time into making content. It's something I enjoy doing, but I just, you know, I need to be working, and so if I'm not making money off of this, then obviously I can't put as much time into it. So anyway, yeah, just wrapping up. You know, thanks for watching. I see that we got yeah, now everyone's coming in now that I'm wrapping up. But yeah, this is the tier list. Feel free, this is going to be on the channel once once I'm done. You can go back to the beginning and watch all of it. Watch me talk about all these just awesome bands, and then talk about why some of these guys are absolute garbage, and then as well as all these bands that I've never listened to but I've heard of, and then like all of these bands that I've just absolutely never heard of in my entire life. So yeah, hopefully this was entertaining, and yeah, until next time, guys, have a good day, and please subscribe if you like what you saw.